How do you plan your computer vision, machine learning, or robotics projects as an absolute beginner? If you want to be a self-taught robotics computer vision or machine learning, I think this is a really good time because you can now set goals for 2023. We're almost at the end of this year, and December should be the time where you should be setting goals for your learning journey for the next year, for the whole year ideally. Make a plan for 2023 such that you not just identify your areas of interest and find your niche in robotics and artificial intelligence, but actually take up multiple projects, build a portfolio, and also start applying for jobs by the end of 2023. So before starting this particular activity or before watching this video, you should have a list of 5 projects that are either driven by your own curiosity. So you can watch my video about curiosity driven learning that I talked about. And this list should be arranged in such a way that the project should be the one that you find the most interesting, and that is also the easiest to implement. And the number 5 one is slightly difficult. And for the purposes of this video, now we'll take up the project that is the easiest to should be taking up when you're starting out. So you take up one very easy project that you think you can implement within a week. So your goal should be to implement this project within a week, and you could do it a weekend in the a hackathon, for example. So Saturdays and Sundays, if you have the time, you could spend entirely working on this project. You could do it regularly by spending 2 hours for the week and try to finish it. Depends on your situation. So if you're working full time, probably working during the weekdays might not be feasible for certain people. So you can still take out maybe 30 minutes or 1 hour during the weekdays and more time on the weekend. Or if you're a student who is enrolled in another program, maybe you have more time and you could spend more time on for this towards this project, and maybe you could finish that even earlier. So how would you go about that? So in this video, I'll be talking about how you can plan one specific project that you have chosen. And as mentioned, this project could be driven from your curiosity, but if you haven't done that activity, you can projects from the internet. You could take up some project that you find interesting, and you could essentially utilize the planning method that I'm talking about here. You could watch my video on top 5 YouTube channels to find computer projects from there, or you could just Google search some projects. You could just take up any random project, and if you want to start doing it immediately, you could follow this planning system. So the first thing that you would do is actually to specifically define the goal of this project. You just have one. It should be very simple. So let's say you want to do a project that utilizes something to do with face blur. So you want to do a computer vision project and using face detection plus Gaussian, something that you want to do. Very simple project to do and definitely implementable in 1 week. So generally what most people do is that, okay, they have an idea, they have a project in mind that they want to do, and they quickly Google search it. And since it is a simple project, you would be able to find lots of resources on the internet. Follow maybe a tutorial that you see online, and you just follow it step by step without thinking on your own. Engineering and research, both of these things are essentially based on problem solving. So the primary skill that you want to focus on is not learning these tools, rather more on problem solving. And that is why a projects based system is so important, because it allows you to focus on problem solving. But if you don't follow the system properly, you would never learn problem solving. And this is why most people get stuck in tutorial hell. They tutorial after another, and they never really realize that they are not really learning very efficiently. Of course, they're learning the tools and the ideas and how to approach a project, some things like that, but they're not learning how to build a project from scratch, which would be required when you're working somewhere. So you have a project idea in mind, you should first define a specific goal. So I have a project on the website Learn Robotics and AI, just one project for now, but more would be coming in the future. So the project is called Face Blur for Street Interviews. So I've defined a hypothetical where there's a street interview going on, and the task is to use computer vision to blur the faces of the candidates who are being interviewed. So very practical tasks, and everyone can relate to it. So let's say we chose this project and we define the goal specifically as this. You have to define then what are you given for this task. You're given a video, of course, you're given a video of the street interview. This is what is the end result of this project. You should clearly define that. The end result should be that you have the exact same video, but the faces should be blurred in that video, and you also don't want the face of the moderator to be blurred. So this is how the output should look like. You should clearly define before starting to do the project, because otherwise you are just randomly playing around, and that is also something that can work and you would definitely learn something. But if you are focusing on something specifically, not only will you be more systematic, but you would be more efficient. You'd be able to finish this project quickly, and then maybe you can take up another project later. So efficiency is also very important. Okay, so you have defined the problem now. Now, what is the next step that you would do? You're not immediately starting to search online, finding the resources and stuff like that. You must spend thinking of solutions on your own. You'd be brainstorming for some potential ideas. If you're doing this project with someone, that's even better, because you could then discuss potential ideas. Hey, this is an approach that can be adopted, for example. And this brainstorming session, you have to remember, should be in the sense that you should not judge the ideas that are coming up, because it is a very initial stage. You can think about really silly ideas, and of course you would be following a pipeline and one specific idea which is more practical. You're exercising your lateral thinking ability, which is also very important, in addition to your analytical thinking ability. What I mean by lateral thinking ability is the ability to think across, the ability to generate ideas. For all know that regardless of which field you're in, a certain level of idea generation or creativity is very important. And this is something that you would practice by means of this small activity in this project. So, okay, you have been brainstorming, you come up with some ideas. You could use, for example, an object detection, machine learning based object detection approach, followed by Gaussian blurring or some other blurring technique, and you just brainstorm a few ideas, and you then filter out the ones that you think are most implementable. You are allowed to Google search a bit. So you could remember, you don't have to search for solutions directly to this problem. You have to search for which of the ideas are more practical, and you can then sort and filter out the one pipeline So after doing some Google searching, comparing the different ideas, you say, hey, yeah, I could do this particular idea, and this is something that is possible to do within a week. Then you select that particular idea. Let's stick with using the media pipe library and Gaussian blurring, which is what I have implemented in the particular project on the website, learnroboticsandai.com. And so you stick with that, and now you have to break the project first into a pipeline. So you have to break it down into specific activities, maybe 3 to 4 or 5 different activities. So the first activity, let's say, is to identify the packages, the Python libraries that you might need perform this particular activity, to do this particular project. So for this activity, maybe you require OpenCV, maybe you require ArcParse, maybe you require MediaPipe, maybe you also require scikit-learn. I don't know. You have to brainstorm and decide the initial steps of brainstorming ideas on your own and searching for content online in order to find the right approach for yourself. So you select the particular approach, you select some few packages, and then you install those packages. This should be activity number one, always installing the packages and importing them. And sometimes, depending on which packages you use, this might take some time as well, because there can be a lot of dependency issues. So this is an important activity to do as well. So once you have installed, to run the script and see if the import has been successful. And once you do that, you should then define the next stage. Maybe you have to load the data. Maybe you have to load the video that you have been given, or in some other project, maybe perform some data cleaning, organize the data a bit, if you're to be using it to a machine learning model that you're defining on your own. So in this particular case, since we're using MediaPipe, we're using an already implemented system. So you load the video, and then of course you would require to know some concepts, and you're allowed to Google search along the way. You're allowed to Google search to find the right concepts that you would need to load a video. So you could quickly do a search how to load a video, and then you would be able to do it easily. You can try displaying the video and perform some basic operations on the video if you want to. So the next step would then be of object detection. You should then be having a package that you're using for the object detection system, and then you should start implementing that. So this should take up the next activity. You also want to see the results of the object detection, whether the faces that you see are going to be detected or not. So you display the images, and you display the videos, you display the frames of the video, and you see whether the results are as you. If you're a beginner, probably you would require some time to get used to it, and that's fine, because this gets easier with practice. So the more projects that you do, the better. So once you do that, once you have your object detection, your face detection thing working, now you have to not blur the face of the interviewer, the moderator. You have to only blur the face of the candidates there. So you perform some post-processing operations, and you only perform object detection, let's say, on the portion where the interviewer is not speaking, and you for this that manually by setting the timestamps during which the moderator is not speaking, and you could perform object detection on that. So this is already good progress. You got your object detection pipeline running. The goal of this project is to blur the faces of the individuals whose faces you detected. So next would be to perform blurring, and depending on which approach you take, we selected Gaussian blurring, so we would be searching a bit what is Gaussian blurring and things like that. So you could acquaint yourself, start each of these activities, and then you can start doing it. And once you do all of these activities, you were able to finish the project in a systematic way. So in this particular video, I'm just speaking and explaining these concepts. You can visually see how I have structured the particular project, the specific project that I talked about in this video, on the website learnroboticsandai.com, where I have not just a GitHub repository, but also a deep notebook. And on the notebook, I have given these activities that you can start using immediately. So feel free to use this notebook directly if you want to do this project. But again, you should spend time brainstorming and coming up with ideas on your own, and come up with this pipeline on your own, these activities which I have be able to come up with these on your own, because that is where real learning is. Another point which I forgot to mention was that for each of the activities in this project on this notebook, I ask you to make a commit on Git. And this way you are able to also learn the tools that are being used in the industry. Every particular company, in almost every software project, or if not Git, then it's another version control tool, maybe Tortoise Git or some other version control tool. So for each of the activities you would perform this particular activity, you would make a commit on Git saying imported packages, and then you would push it to a particular repository. So you will be able to create a repository for yourself by the end of this particular session, basically. So within a week, you have a project ready. And if you continue doing this for every single week, you would have a portfolio of projects. The most important thing to remember is that you have to come up with the pipeline, brainstorm the ideas, and basically generate the whole system on your own. And that is why I encourage you to do it in a group, or at least with someone. So if you're looking for an accountability partner to do this project with, or any project that you come up with, you could write that in the accountability section on the channel, on the Discord channel, Learn Robotics and AI. So I hope you're able to appreciate how powerful this would be, because there are lots of tutorials online, but nobody talks about how you should be approaching a project while you're doing the project. So in this particular case, we are not just learning the packages that are being used to do a particular project. We are not just brainstorming and exercising our problem solving ability, but we are also learning tools like Git with one project, with one additional project in our portfolio by the end of this activity.